Stop making decisions from turbulent places. And we're going to flush this all the way out. And I know I'm non-linear, but today I brought in a little bit of linear magic because I just channeled this whole concept and idea. And the funny part was yesterday, I passed this test and I passed it with my app Eden. Thank God I built that and using all my tools. But I swear to God, there was that moment where I'm like, I need to do all this stuff. And I was like, we're doing it out of urgency. We're doing it out of scarcity. And everybody's going to fill that with whatever we send it out with, okay? And that is like the first concept of this video is how you feel is how they will feel, okay? And I want you to visualize this or just imagine this as like how we roll out the carpet to talk to others or share things is what they feel. So for instance, if I'm like, I need to make an ad right now to solve this problem that just popped up overnight and I need a solution by tomorrow, everybody who sees that ad, if I were to create it and roll it out, is gonna be like, dude is so urgent and so scarce, like he could have the best product in the world, but I don't want it. Like something feels unfamiliar or something doesn't feel right, right? And that's like the energy behind like launching products, doing videos, whether it's VSLs, marketing content, like to be in the energy of joy and fun and creation and stability, security. Like that's how you create the best marketing content. And you could go back and see, I could show you a ton of videos that I've done where it was urgent on the client side and then where it was grounded. And then you could see one that was a mess, and you could actually see this without me telling you which one it was based on client work, right? Same thing with some of my own products. You could go back and look at everything on my Instagram and be like, he was in an urgent stage here. Dude was so grounded here. And it's not palpable based on presentation, it's just palpable in the energetics. So whenever you're in a turbulent space or a turbulent mind, go within. And I think Aaron Dowdy, I saw something with him. He did the School of Greatness. I forgot that guy's name, but I freaking landed on this video last night. It was like my confirmation that I passed the test. And Dowdy talks about the flame exercise where you can pull attention in and send it out. And if you're having a hard time, pull that attention in, like get really, really clear with yourself on what is this thing? And it's simply, number one, is just like identifying what it is. Like yesterday, I couldn't tell you what it was. And it turns out it was like Saturn retrograde, right? It's a big shift. And I'm like, why do I feel like my structure? And Saturn's the planet of structure. And it was paused and it went backwards, right? So there's a little bit of like metaphysical stuff for you. But it's like, overall, just imagine this is like what you are experiencing is what you are sharing. So if you want to share that dirty energy with people, they're going to be like, oh, even though you're asking for help and stuff. And we'll get to like how you can actually ask for help and, you know, discharge this before you connect, okay? So next is like the assessment, right? And this is what I did yesterday. It was like, I pulled some tarot cards. I checked in with myself. I used everything that Eden is, right? And looked at number synchronicities. And the underlying message endlessly was do not act, trust, do not act. And after I saw that so many times, I was like, well, I don't want to, but I'm gonna trust and I'm not gonna act. And I know this is uncomfortable and I feel like I'm releasing, but we're not gonna act. Even though acting, and it's like, and I'll run you through these questions that I really asked myself and went through to get that assessment, because it's like any device can tell us something, but it comes down to us and our experience to see if it matches it too, right? Because it's like, I don't want technology telling me everything about me, but if it's telling me something and I'm feeling the same way, it's a pretty damn good indicator, right? So the first one is like to tell if you're in a turbulent space or like a grounded space, is it charged? And by that, I'll try to run you through this is what I experienced yesterday. It's like charged has speed, it has urgency, there's not enough time, you better do it now. And those are all lies, because that's just energy and motion or emotions. Emotions move really fast. And if you're feeling a ton of emotions, that's the ego right there. It's like something's changing, I don't feel safe. It's scarcity, it's urgency, and it's overwhelm, okay? And nobody wants to feel those, right? So it's like if it's charged, and it felt like yesterday too, I can portray this as like when I grabbed onto the energy, imagine like some rains, I was like, this feels like shit. And I let it go and I'm like, this feels good. And then it was like at some point too, I was like, man, am I chasing the charge? Because I feel flat and drained, right? But then it was like, whoop. But then the more I leaned into comfort and resting and, you know, decompressing, which we'll get to as well, it's like, man, I started feeling better by doing nothing. And sometimes doing nothing is doing something, and it's doing something really powerful, right? And then the second question is, that we kind of covered it, is it urgent? Like, think about what urgency is at the basis of it. Number one, it's a negative emotion. Number two is like it hits your body to tell you to dump more adrenaline. Adrenaline makes you imagine that you're running from a bear, and there's all these physiological symptoms like it dilates our pupils, it pumps adrenaline, it speeds up our heart rate, it causes bronchodilation, it shuts off our bladder. So it allows us to literally turn into an athlete so that we can run from whatever's causing fear in our life. And in nursing school, they teach us like, what is fight and flight? Imagine you're running from a bear. Those are all the symptoms. Do you want to pee? No. Okay. Are you really aerobic and your heart's racing? Yes. And it's like all those summarize urgency, which is based on adrenaline. And it's like you're having an adrenal response to something in your body, that an emotional trigger that opened a wound that caused you to go back to some time in your life where adrenaline was really needed. Okay. Do you want to share that with somebody else? Ask yourself that there. And then it's like the last question is the solution that you're seeking going to last? This is so important because it's like yesterday, anything that my mind was telling me to do was not a solution that was going to last. It was a band-aid for the moment, for the second, for the hour, for the couple hours, for however long. It was literally like the stuff that I was being pinged to do, I knew wasn't intuitive, which made it confusing because I'm really intuitive, but I'm like, that's not intuition. It's coming in fast. It's coming in charged. And though that will help me in this second, I don't want to repeat this pattern. So what do I need to do? And it's simply sit with it. Chill myself out, regulate, do breath work, and we'll get to all these things here in a second. But it was like, that was the solution was very simple. It's like, get out of the turbulent mind so that we can actually make a decision. Boom. And that's when that Aaron Doughty video showed up, was afterwards. I was like, damn, we just passed this test. We got to create a YouTube video on this, right? So then, yeah, or it's just for the now. Yeah, if it's just for the now, it's literally like, think about that. Everything you're doing, if it's just for the now, just for the now, just for the now, that is literally putting on a Band-Aid. But it's like, whenever you can look as like what you're doing, does it impact the now and the future and create duration and it extends, right? And think about that too. Does, we'll say a Tesla, it's probably the fastest 0 to 60 car on the market right now. I think it's smoked most McLarens and Lambo stuff because it's all electric. But can you take a Tesla on a marathon? No, it's short, it's quick, it's rapid. Yes, it'll go 200 or 300 miles. That's it. Versus a Prius. Think about the Prius. What is it, like 40 miles per gallon, full tank, say it's 10. I know it's more than that, but for numbers' sake, that's like 400 miles of 10 gallons of gas, which it probably has, 15. So we could extend that up to like, what's half of 800? 600 miles. Like, that's more of a marathon. Quick refill, keep on going. It's not fast off the line, but it's set for duration, right? But it still gets you off the line. Yeah, I feel like that one's sunken in. So then if you're in this, like, we'll call it triggered, it's like, say you're in this charged, turbulent mind space, what do you do to bring it back down to earth, right? Or to get out of it, right? Because it's like your natural tendency might be to like, hey mom, I'm feeling this way today, or hit up a partner and be like, yo, I need some help. And it's like, what do you do in this space? Number one, self-regulation tends to be the best method. And if you can't self-regulate, I encourage you to learn. Because a lot of times what you'll do if you can't self-regulate is you'll pull other people into your problems. And this is for relationships, business, personal life, whatever. It relates to all this, right? And it's like, even in this series and being a creator, if you're creating from a dysregulated state where you're urgent and you're scarce, the people that you're delivering that content to is going to feel it. And they're going to be like, I don't think you spent time on this. I don't think it's going to create a bunch of noise. They can feel it, right? So it's like, even get yourself in a regulated state. What is the first thing you do? And I say it's to ground. And grounding is simply connecting to everything around you, and specifically connect to nature, right? It's very grounded. It's very earthy. So for instance, what I'll do is like put my feet in Barton Springs. I went knee deep yesterday, stood in there for 5 minutes and was like, this feels so good. And it's like, look for those good feelings. It's also like, I meditated for about 10 minutes. It's like, slow down and connect. And if it feels like you don't have the time or space to get into that space, you really need it. And I love that saying. It's like, Previously, I used to cold plunge. I wouldn't recommend that for this. It's really good for clearing out your aura, but it is a hyper-dopaminergic response. But it's like when I used to have a bunch of thoughts on my mind and I couldn't clear them, I'd jump at the cold plunge, it would like release it all. And then that would put me in a grounded state where I'd conclude this series of like, then I'd meditate afterwards and so forth. But overall, like getting grounded can be very simple. It's like walking on, earth with your bare feet. That's so important. It actually electrically charges us and takes all the discharge from us. Like I said, meditating, cold plunge, connect with nature, sit in nature, journal, clear those minds or those thoughts somehow, come to reality of what they are, and also disprove them by simply naming that emotion. As soon as you can name whatever that emotion is that is causing turbulence in your life, you have ownership over it. And then you can also go to the polar opposite of it and be like, oh, there's the polar opposite emotion. Everything in this reality is polarized. So if you're feeling, say you're feeling shame, the flip of shame is self-compassion and I want to say deep self-love. Boom. Knowing that you're exactly perfect as you are, though others are misunderstanding you, you are authentic to yourself. That is their interpretation, not the truest essence, right? That's just a quick one on emotions to understand polarity. And then it's like regulate. Regulating is so big. So first you need to ground. You need to take the speed out of it. When you can go slow, you're in control. When you're going fast, you're out of control. So then the regulation is simply breathing. And I have a yoga teacher. I used to teach hatha. This is my favorite part of my class. I'd regulate them out the gates. And it's through this very simple method. Is like when you're in a triggered state, let's see, your inhales are going to be longer and your exhales are shorter because you're trying to drive as much oxygen into your body, which generates ATP, which is the cellular driving energy. Ooh, excuse me, there's a burp there. And then to regulate from, a triggered state, man, we got some burps. We're clearing some energy. Those are all somatic responses. So when you're in that triggered state, to regulate simply with your breath is focus on longer exhales. And there's very simple methods. There's like box breathing, which is common in like the Navy SEALs. And it's 4 in, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4, inhale. And you literally breathe in a box, right? And that is the like regulate. But if you want to go into more of a parasympathetic state or something that is more rest and digest, you got to have shorter inhales with longer exhales because you're essentially telling your body with the motors that you actually have control of that, hey, we're not trying to drive oxygen, we're trying to drive relaxation. And the more you can focus on prolonging those exhales to the inhale ratio, the more relaxed you're going to feel over time. If you're somebody who can't relax, this is a very simple, exercise. And I actually have this embedded in Eden for you too. Okay. So then next is like disconnect. This is probably, and you don't want to disconnect before you get regulated, right? Because you might need some of those resources. I wouldn't say pull them, but it's like next you need to disconnect, like disconnect from social media, put your phone down, get away from any device that you can send a message with, right? Because it's like, two, everybody's intuitive, everybody's a psychic, and if everybody in the collective is going through this too, the last thing you want to do is be plugged into the collective. So, put everything down, get away from it, take some time, take some space. The world's not going to burn down. Actually, when you take some space from, social media, text messages, calls, number one, you're dysregulated, you're overwhelmed. Why are you trying to take more input? And it's like your phone, whatever mine is, we'll call this my phone today. This is an input device. This is a sample device. So like, get it out of your space because all you're going to do is create more data for your mind to process, and your mind's already trying to process too much, and it's in an or dysregulated state, an overwhelmed state, right? And then discharge. Discharging is so important. Figure out a method to discharge this turbulence. Is it working out? Like, yesterday I got in a quick workout. It was not in a room to discharge. And sometimes when I'm feeling like I have an abundance of energy, I'll lift heavier to ground. Yesterday it was like the energy had power over me. So it's like, all right, let's just use it. Let's burn some of it and then discharge. And the discharge was in Barton Springs by getting in 70-degree water. It's a moderate cold plunge reset. So it regulated me. And you can tell because that water feels extra cold when you're dysregulated. And then from there, it was like I walked some trails, I connected to nature, I reflected, and everything I was doing was discharging that energy. I was getting it out of my orbit and just finding ways to put it somewhere without acting upon it, if that makes sense, okay? And then the last is like debrief. And this is what I think is most important. And I love how this happened, was yesterday I had a buddy there were so many people I wanted to call to help me through it. And I was like, Spirit said no, Spirit said no. And I was like, damn it, okay, we're gonna get through this. We're gonna get through this. At the moment I got through it, I get a call and a buddy's like, yo, dude, what's up? And I'm like, man, it's been a fucking day. How are you? And he's like, dude, it's been a day. And he was literally mirroring everything I felt. He's like, dude, I'm exhausted. I didn't sleep well the night before. You know, what else did he say? It was literally like I was talking to myself, right? He's like, I want to take a nap today, but I can't. I ran into my ex. I didn't run into my ex, but I had stuff that revolved around the same timeline as him. And then it's like, and he just kept, sharing all this stuff. And he's like, dude, it kind of spun me out. And this is what I said, like, we didn't have a boys conversation. We had a men's conversation where we're like, bro, I'm in the same boat. Here's my scenario. And we weren't trying to solve each other's problems. We were literally debriefing the exact timelines of what happened, what we did. And it wasn't a sense of like fluffing up our egos, but we both were sharing our process and we were taking it from the internal and externalizing it, not seeking validation from one another, but simply validating ourselves through the experience with somebody who can hold space and also understand what we went through without trying to solve our problem. And that was so cool. And it was like, I remember seeing the timestamp on it too. It was like a 10-minute conversation. And it wasn't like, here, let me help you, bro. And I'm here to help you, dude. It was just like, dude, this has been wild, dude. Can you like hold some space while I share this and reflect on it? And then at the end of it, we both came to our own conclusions where we were like, man. And then it was like the appreciation of like, dude, I'm so glad you called. Like, thank you for reaching out. And he was like, dude, thank you so much for this conversation. Peace. And I swear to God, that like popped the entire bubble here. And it was just a cool process. And it's like, to like bring this video full circle, is like the worst thing you can do in that turbulent space is reach out to somebody, because you're going to share the energy with them. And even though that's a friend or a partner or somebody you trust, you're literally saying, here, I can't hold this. Help take it from me. And it's like, who wants to help take that from you, right? It's like, you're a human, you're very powerful. Use your toolbox to get rid of this energy. And like we said, it's like, number one, it's like ground, center, regulate. Ask yourself the assessment questions. Like, is this charged or is it slow? Because if it's charged and fast, it's not intuition. That's ego, that's a trigger, and your body's in literally survival mode, and it's going to do whatever it needs to do in this moment to discharge that energy, no matter who it hurts or how it affects them, right? But if it's slow, if it's methodical, if you have control over your thoughts and your emotion, you can regulate your breath. You can go slow and connect to your body. You can feel all your senses at once. That's a pretty good sign that you're regulated. And anything that's going to happen from that space is probably going to help you understand the process that you are going through or you went through, and what is the lesson you can learn from it. Because without that debriefing and without that integration in that perfect time and space, you really haven't embodied or learned the whole experience. Until you can go through a whole experience, see it with a clear mind, understand what happened, and really dive into all the elements of it, that's integration. And that's like, no matter if it's plant medicine, it's a process in life, whether it's like something like Kubler-Ross model would showcase, and it's a death and dying model, but it's for any arc in life that you go through of something that is massive or transformational or life-changing, or a big moment, whether you're moving, somebody dies, you have a breakup, yada, yada. There's very systematic steps of what we go through. And I don't remember a Kubler-Ross model, but it's like anger, and then it's like disbelief, and then it's acceptance. And then it's like this 5-step model, but it's relatable. And it's like, at the very end of it, until you go through integration where you literally understand it, you can see what it did to help you. You can understand all these aspects, you're not through it. But until you debrief it and you integrate it and you embody it and you understand it and you see what choices you made and how those affected the outcome, that's bringing it full circle. And then that's when it's time that you can share it with somebody if you need to integrate further and be like, yo, I went through this process yesterday. It was intense. Here's everything I wanted to do, but here's everything I did. And it's almost like you're creating a space to self-validate yourself, and having somebody witness it. But also at the end of the day, that experience from a grounded and calm space and regulated space can create a shift in somebody else if they're looking for a piece that they haven't identified as well. So that's where sharing, and it goes back to the beginning, is like, when you can share that, you're also sharing the healing power with other people, which is way more beneficial than sharing that turbulent and triggered and fight and flight space, right? So we're going to wrap up this video here. Thank you for everybody who watched. Also, look for all the freebies in the description box. I'm starting to really load those up for you. We're going to have Eden in it soon. Feeling like Lionsgate's going to be when I post Eden publicly. We're going to go shopping around a little bit today in Uber, I feel, and go hang out where all the tech people are here in Austin. But as always, guys, thank you so much for being here. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already liked this video. Share anything below if I've created a shift in you. That is how you can help the next person, by simply being yourself, and that's what we're all about here. So peace out, have a good day, and go make the world a little bit better by simply making yourself better.